Hey, welcome to Yours Your Pamphlet, and my name is Rob, and I'm the host of this one-man show coming to you every Monday, 6 a.m. UK time. And today we're talking about the one and only, The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. That is literally one of the most talked about movies at the moment. So I think it's only fitting that we talk about it, and you know. Uh, it's everyone knows the Odyssey. Like everyone knows at least of it. I'm not sure how many people actually know in depth about it. I've studied about it in school. I have a well, I guess a cultural connection to it because in Italy they teach us the Odyssey. Like we studied the Odyssey so many times, like in middle school, in elementary school, in high school. It's something that we repeat over and over because it is sort of like understood as the matrix of a lot of bigger, I guess, literature components of our country in that sense. And it is, to be honest, like the one of the first poems ever written and one of the very first stories ever told. Yes, it was passed down orally at first, but then it was written down. But it is one of the first few stories ever recorded from our ancient history. And of course, the Odyssey is was technically created by Homer, who is also the original credited author for the Iliad, which is technically the prequel to the Odyssey, if you want to put it in that way. Um, so yeah, um, I guess to understand the Odyssey, you have to also sort of understand what the Iliad is about, and in a way, I think this movie is also a big undertaking because it needs to tell a very big story, a very massive story in the format of a movie. And to be honest, like this movie is long. It's like 3 hours long. It's quite lengthy, and even then, I still think there are a lot of parts that have been cut short, unfortunately, because of the format. But I do feel like overall the story was told to the best of its ability, and I do think it's a good representation of the Odyssey. So I guess I want to talk about sort of like what I liked, what I disliked, where do I situate it compared to the original, and how well does it like sort of describe the the Greek mythology and all that. So also to put another, I guess, context to this is that this is a Christopher Nolan movie. Christopher Nolan is one of the most decorated directors, and but I guess however comma in that sense, his movies are he has a very specific flair, and to be honest with you, I think he did his best with what type of movies he usually makes. I do have a slight problem with the fact that this was turned more actiony than adventure-y, if that makes any sense. I mean, the whole purpose of the Iliad and the Odyssey is that they are the two prototypes of two different genres. Like, the Iliad is supposed to be like an action, like a warfare story, while the Odyssey is supposed to be all about adventures and all that. But I do think overall, like, Christopher Nolan delivers a very interesting movie. Probably one of his most artistic pieces to this day. Like because he is so focused as a director to use like more practical sets and effects and everything than actual CGI. This does come off as a very visually artistic project, which is so good to see from him specifically because it's a very realistic type of director to begin with. So for him to tackle something as far away as reality as the from reality as the Odyssey is quite interesting to see. Honestly, I mean, you can see some sparks of it, which I will get into. But yeah, I mean, I'm very satisfied with it. I had a great time. I think overall I came out of the movie thinking this was such a good experience. And I mean, this has to be seen because, again, apart from being, of course, the very big, the first, well, I guess it's not the first, of course, live action interpretation of the Odyssey, of course, but it is the first major, I guess, like blockbustery version of the Odyssey. The Iliad has already Troy, like the movie, but this is the first proper, like, blockbustery version of the Odyssey that we've ever had. And that's one thing. But the other thing is also, this was entirely shot on IMAX. Like, this is the first movie entirely shot on IMAX. Like, all scenes, even dialogue scenes. I urge you to like go and listen to some of the interviews that the actors and him made about how they came up with like some technology to like make sure that the sound of the IMAX camera didn't transpire while they were having the dialogue scenes, and had this like mirror system that would, because the camera is massive, they would have this mirror system that would like let the two people in dialogue still see each other even though the massive camera was in the middle of them, which is incredible. But yeah, so that's something that you have to see already, only because of this. So it's a must watch. It's an incredible watch, visually stunning, like one of the best movies I've seen this year, 100%. So let's get into like what I disliked first. Let's just start with that. As I was saying, hinting at, I guess, in a way, I think this movie sort of misses a little bit of the whimsy and the fableness of what the Odyssey is. The Odyssey is also supposed to be like, in some aspects, also comedic in a way, but also have a lot of whimsy and a lot of like mythology in it. And there's definitely like magical creatures in this, but it's quite devoid of a lot of mythological, at least, representations. Like, let's just say, like, the only god that you see in this is Athena, of course, because she is the main focus. I mean, she's the one protecting Odysseus throughout his entire journey home of 20 years. But yeah, I don't think I do not think the mythological aspect was done as much as it could have been. Let's just say, like, yes, the Cersei thing was incredible. I did like that quite a lot. The Polyphemus, the Cyclops thing was very well done. But and I guess like the gods are mentioned quite a bit, like Zeus's law and the wrath of Poseidon. They're all there, and they're all sort of shown through the natural elements, but we never see them. We never see also the scale of the gods' power. Like, even when Odysseus is like, back in Attica, like, it's something not as powerful. Like when Zeus is like flashing his thunders or whatever, then it's not you don't feel like there's an actual cataclysmic storm or whatever, or there's no presence of them actually whatsoever. So yeah, that's the one thing I'm like, it could have been done, but could have been done better, I guess, like that part. And I think this is a general like critique I always have of Christopher Nolan. The female characters are usually always framed in his movie as how they, they're like created and written in function of the male characters rather than themselves. I mean, partially this is the best case scenario because the Odyssey is about Odysseus, so all the other characters have to function around him. But I do think, like, for example, some of these characters have female characters have such a small role in this that's quite baffling, because like the Odyssey is actually very diverse as a story itself. I mean, the amount of female characters in the story are insane, and they are here as well, but they are, I don't want to say necessarily glazed over, but they have very small roles. Let's just say they don't have much screen time. Like, even Helen of Troy, she is shown as a remorseful person, but she's never, like, her myth as, the woman who started it all and like created this, like, like was the cataclysm for the war, the Trojan War. Like, you never really experience that with her. She's damaged, like she has been wounded and whatever. Like there's not much there. Same thing with that. My biggest let down, I guess, in that sense, was Calypso's presence in the story. While in the original Odyssey, like she's supposed to be actually such a turning point and someone who gets actually it's such a great area for her because she is culpable, of course, of like holding Odysseus hostage, but also there's so many there's so much more to her. There are so many more layers to Calypso and how she actually fell in love with Odysseus, but also is a woman who has been, let down by men her whole life, and it doesn't really come across. I think here because like it doesn't tell the story chronologically. It just tells the story going back and forth quite a lot. So there are a lot of like there are a few scenes with Calypso and Odysseus, but they're all sprinkled around the movie. So when it gets to the final thing, when she finally lets him go willingly, it doesn't have much impact. I feel like it didn't really register, and that was supposed to be one of the big emotional core scenes of the story as well. Apart from, of course, him reuniting with his wife and everything else, but just also Odysseus finally waking up from this like slumber that he was in for 7 years on the island of Calypso. So yeah, that was something that I didn't really particularly enjoy. I did like, however, I have to be honest, like how Penelope was sort of shown. She is, of course, like relegated to being like the trophy wife in that sense, but that's framed thankfully in the context of how the story is and how women were treated back in the days, and how. But I did like that he added some more elements to it, like how she's very sort of frustrated, not simply with the fact of Odysseus being missing, of course, but also that she's been governing Ithaca for like the past 20 years, and no one has given her the credit for it, and no one has ever realized, has never considered making her the actual queen of Ithaca for the time being, at least until Odysseus returns or whatever. Instead, everything like revolves around the marriage and like having to remarry and the throne being going to someone else because she's not a man and she has to be the wife, and that's good to see. And it's because I also really like the relationship that she has with Telemachus, her son, which is like, of course, fully loving, but also she's not afraid to like sort of snap at him because she sees his limits and is sort of wide-eyed in a sense, and she's been through so much that she has to sometimes snap at Telemachus to like show him like, no, this is not how life actually works. You cannot just simply like try and get the throne. You're not your dad yet. You're still like a child, So yeah, I did like her specifically how she was made, but everyone else, even Athena, the few moments that Zendaya is in this movie are incredible. Like her delivery in this movie is actually insane, and I can see why Christopher Nolan gave it the perfect one-liner reply to her when she stopped filming. She was perfect in her delivery because she is. But unfortunately, we see her very, in very few scenes, very very few scenes, and she is supposed to be a presence in Odysseus' life, like a presence that is supposed to be there quite a lot, and she only has, I think, 3 or 4 like encounters with him that are very brief, and she doesn't have many dialogues either. So yeah, quite disappointing in that sense. The movie. Yeah, I guess like I already said also about like the chronological thing. I would have preferred that, to be honest, because like the beauty of it is just like the this constant trip that is going all these places, and then it's like a build up to finally him reaching home. While this way around is more like I kind of think it was interesting because it seemed like a parallel, because it's like all a hearsay story basically. Sometimes it's him recounting a story, sometimes it's like someone else telling a story for him and all that, and that's sort of how the Odyssey came around, right? Like people were passing it down. So I think that was maybe an intentional move to like have the story told a different in different points and like in different orders and all that to like honor how the actual Odyssey was made. But I think I would have preferred like a chronological story because that would have paid off, like, even better. And yeah, the final point I guess I want to make about the parts that I didn't like is the like the pacing, I guess, of the movie. I think everyone is talking about that, and I think it is true. I think in a way I see what he's trying to do in a sense of having a good balance between action shots and just really strong like dialogues and emotional scenes. But I think it's like a roller coaster. Like we stop and we start, we stop and we start, because again, like the story is not told also chronologically. Like there's a lot of pauses in between the very big like action shots basically. So yeah, I guess definitely like the pacing is a bit of an issue because I would have preferred a more sustained pace, I guess. But again, once I get to now to the good parts, it does save himself in the end, because the third act, man, one of the best third acts I've seen in a long time. Usually it's the other way around. Like usually many movies struggle with the third act and they're pretty good with the first two. I think this movie's a bit of a hit or miss with the first two acts, but the third act is very, very rewarding and delivered. Like that's literally super well done. Okay, so let's get to the good to the good parts, I guess. First off, as I said, cinematography 10 out of 10. Like this movie looks amazing. Watching it in IMAX is just such a great experience, like insane. I liked most of the performances. Oh, I forgot to say, even though not everyone is American. Like there's Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland specifically who are British, but they have to speak in an American accent throughout the entire movie, which I also think is a bold choice. I'm not sure still how I feel about that, because sometimes it did take me out of the movie. Not necessarily like the accent itself, but more like the simplicity of the language. While the Odyssey itself is like quite sophisticated sometimes in language, and it's very epic and everything else. Sometimes, the dialogues here are quite bro-esque, that I guess I'm like, sometimes it takes me out of it, I guess I should say. But there's a great ensemble of characters. I want to say like of actors as well, and there are some standout performances. I think my favorite, I guess, actor in this, the way they acted. I mean, of course, Matt Damon was insanely good. He's the core of the movie. He plays Odysseus, but also Robert Pattinson playing one of the main villains, like one of the suitors for Penelope's hand. He's so good in this. He is perfectly cast. Seeing Robert Pattinson as an evil man is just so interesting to see, because I think he has such a wide range. He was incredible in this. I mean, outstanding. Tom Holland playing Telemachus. I think it was well cast. I liked some of his choices, especially towards the end of the movie. Penelope, Anne Hathaway being Penelope, she was very well fit, I think, for the role. Very well cast. I would have preferred Charlize Theron as Circe rather than as Calypso. But I guess also I don't know who would have played Calypso well as well. I don't know. I'm sure you could have found someone else for Calypso, because again, the way it was executed wasn't that central, which is very annoying. Yes, and they already told you guys about it. She's incredible in this movie as well. So that's another great pointer. The practical effects are amazing. Polyphemus, just incredible. Like Cyclops is insane. It's all practical. Is actual normal person, but in terms of perspective, the way they filmed it, just insanely well done. That I saw many people comparing that scene plus the Circe scene as like horror scenes, and I totally see that, because it was actually terrifying, both of them. They were so well done. The Circe scene was also so powerful, so well done. Yeah, I really like those practical effects, and they're amazing. Favorite scenes, I mean, of course, I already said like third act is just masterfully done. Has a lot of like Dark Knight, like Batman influences in there that I could totally see because and of course Christopher Nolan directed that as well. But overall, just insanely good. Um, and then what else? Yeah, I really like the taking of Troy. That was such a good the horse, the wooden horse scene. That was so powerful. The music, like the drums in this are just the score is just incredible. It makes such a big difference. Like it just builds anxiety so much in this movie. Incredible. Um, yeah, I mean, I think also overall like the story is done justice. I think he studied the material very well. So that's really good. I mean, it's all you can ask for an adaptation. It doesn't. It takes some liberties in some parts, like changes the story slightly, like with the most minute details. Like even the ending is slightly different, or other parts are like subtly changed, but it doesn't really affect the story overall, and it's done very well. So yeah, incredible. And then, of course, my favorite part of the whole movie was just the message, which I don't think is as. I mean, the the original Odyssey is of course like the major themes aren't there, like loyalty and I guess the the importance of treating your guests right and having faith in you know the people you love and all that is all that. But I think also the one point to really hammer home and it completely wanna censor the movie around, which was brilliant, was the Zeus's law, which is basically you have to treat any guest as well as you want to be treated, basically. And so this has so many layers because, of course, like I mean, there's the beggars and everyone else, and how some people it goes vice versa. Like the guests sometimes act unjustly towards the people who are hosting them. In this case, like Penelope and the suitors and all that. But there's also the whole point. Was also the reason for the whole journey for Odysseus is because he's not ready to go home. I mean, despite of course being hunted down by the gods, he's also not partially not being able to go home because he's not made peace with what he's done at the war. Like yes, he was the architect for the win, to take Troy down, but he hasn't really forgiven himself what he's done, and he's that whole trick about the horse is infringing upon Zeus's law because he's taking advantage of people's hospitality basically and getting into a city and all that and I guess like that's one of the main thing, but also of course civilizations and I guess like the horrors of war and how sometimes a war scars you so much that you're doing unspeakable things and you have to learn how to forgive yourself or like find a way of moving forward basically. So there's so many interesting themes that I think also are very very current as well. So 10 out of 10, just incredible. So yeah, I did really like that. That was such a good um well done story. So I definitely recommend watching it, of course, supporting it, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. I think Christopher Nolan's into something here. It's definitely one of the best movies of the year as of now. So give it a go. Give it a go. Give it a go. Give it a go. Now, sponsor and then songs of the week. Right, before we move on, I have to talk once again about a very recurring sponsor we have, which is Yarok Hair Care. And let's talk about hair, because I don't know who needs to hear this, but your hair is not supposed to feel like a sad broom that's seen too much. And especially with this heat, you need something to, protect your scalp and rejuvenate it, This way I'm excited to talk about Yarok specifically. They make plant-based vegan hair care, shampoos, conditioners, styling stuff, and it's all made with organic ingredients. No sulfates, parabens, no alcohol. None of the things that sound like they belong in a science lab. Basically, it's one of those brands that makes your shower feel slightly more luxurious, like you have your life together, even if you absolutely do not. So right now you can get 15% of any product, and this is their best discount when you use my code overshare pamphlet at yarokhair.com. And full transparency, I do earn a commission when you use my code. So if you buy, you support the show and your hair, and you stop having beef with a frizz and everything else. Everybody wins. So thank you once again, Yarok Hair, for supporting the podcast, and I'll leave you to the songs of the week. Right, songs of the week. This song, these three songs are going to be my usual playlist for each month that I make. So if you just search on Spotify, the Overshare Pamphlet Songs of the Week, July 2026, you'll find these three songs that I'm gonna talk about in a second. So first off, Imaginary Friend by Gracie Abrams. This is from her very new album that came out called Daughter from Hell, and this song is actually very special because I think it's co-written with her boo Paul Mescal, and you know what, this song is just so interesting. Produced by of course Aaron Dessner as well, a very frequent collaborator of Gracie Abrams. This song is just incredible. Like, it's just very, very cute, very, very well written. Like speaking basically to a ghost of a person, calling it your imaginary friend, but it's someone who's like left in the past. Like stopping and filling gaps. It's just like something very interesting. Like wanting to run back scenarios with the imaginary friend, basically, which is basically a person you have definitely met, but you have so many regrets about it that you want to try and redo it with an imaginary version of them, basically. So cool. Aaron Dessner's production, very, very good as well as usual. Then we have The Fig Tree by Matilda Mann, and this is just one of the lead songs from her new album Kismet, and it's just very, very, very good. It definitely has like some of that 70s style pop with orchestral strings and flutes and everything else. It's just very well poised and very well matched with the uncertainty and offering of a warm and witty take on struggles of choosing a life path, basically, right? The Fig Tree. Yeah, I mean, and apparently the music video for this song is also inspired by Severance, the TV show. So really like it. I think this fits with her vibe quite a lot. She became very famous, Matilda Mann, I believe this past year, for her song Inventing, and this song is getting a lot of traction as well, rightfully so, because it's really, really good. And to finish off, I have Mars by Debbie Dawson. This is from her newest EP in that sense, and it's just incredible. If you go to Mars, go to Mars. Like that's what she said. Like, it's just like if you need to go, just fucking go. Basically, as in like she's reflecting on her previous relationships and how these people promise they will always stay, and then just leave her and never talk to her again. And so she's saying, accepting this routine of hers, basically, and saying that if you go to Mars, just go to Mars. That's very, very cool though. Yeah. And I love it. It's just very interesting. Like very, very interesting the way it's produced. There's a switch up in towards the middle of the song in terms of how the tempo of the song is made and everything else. So cool. I do recommend listening to her. Even another song of hers was really cool. What was it? Cool Aid was amazing. But it's from her latest EP, Where Have All the Good Men Gone. So yeah, she has a bit of that witty Sabrina Carpenter writing style that I particularly enjoy. So definitely check it out. But anyways, these are the songs of the week. I hope you guys enjoy the episode. I've enjoyed the episode, and enjoy the rest of your week. And I'll see you in a week's time. Bye.